And you are listening and watching Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally. We're delighted that you could be there. I'm even happier to be here with you. And today, really a good day in studio. Two of my favorite people are in studio today, Dr. Cass Ingram and Dr. Sally Byrd. I had to move heaven and earth to get Dr. Ingram here, but we did. I've known Dr. Ingram now, it'll be 14 years. I don't know if he realizes it or not. And it was he wasn't the first guest, but he was close to it 14 years ago when we came on air. And that was a lifetime ago. And in the meantime, Dr. Ingram has continued to do what he's done for decades and be passionate about medicine and helping others. And I could say ditto to describe Dr. Byrd as well. Two very dedicated professionals who do the right thing and care. You know, you can have a lot of degrees and you can be, high IQ and this and that and all that stuff. At the end of the day, perhaps the most important criterion is this a good person and do they care about others? When you start with that and build on that, then you end up with a much better product. I know a lot of smart people. I've been around a lot of them my whole career. I've always hung out with, traveling in the fast lane. Many of them, as a person, as a human being, empty vessel. Know a lot, have lots of degrees, but just no empathy, no ability to really care about others. And that's, to me, I've learned that's the most important credential of all. And these two people certainly satisfy that in spades. And so I'm very proud to have them here in the studio, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And with that, I want to welcome Dr. Byrd and Dr. Cass. You need your mic, Cass. This is radio, brother.
All right. It's not. I thought I was like back in Chicago, just laying around on the bed while I was talking.
No, man.
How did you pull this crazy thing off? Anyway, that was pretty magical.
Well,
we've been 20 years. We've been 14 with you.
Yeah.
Like crazy stuff.
Yeah. How long have you been practicing medicine?
Started out about 1985. I was actually kind of practicing when I was in med school. All that kind of dangerous stuff.
What do you, in your career, where you started and where you are now, if you can remember that far back when you were in med school, what did you have in your head at that time about medicine, and has it changed given what you were thinking then and where you are now? How have you evolved?
I was psyched out about all the surgery and the typical drug therapy and the invasive stuff. Like, couldn't we do something else? There are plenty of surgeons, plenty of internists, plenty of radiologists, anesthesiologists, chemotherapeutic. Can't we do something else, though? I mean, not opposed, but alternative to that. So it was like, what this osteopathy? They're putting the professors are putting their hands on people and they're diagnosing spinal distortions and hip imbalances, and then they're saying that affects the liver and the stomach and the kidneys and more importantly, in general, the pain and inflammation. And then they go and treat them, and the patient says, since I was getting these osteopathic treatments, I haven't had urinary infections. I'm now able to deliver a baby safely. Before I had nothing but miscarriages. I have 3 children. I was hearing stories. Oh, I had pain in my back until your professor treated me, then the pain went away in one treatment.
But they weren't teaching you these things in school.
Oh, yeah.
They were.
Yes, I was all over that, and I learned to become an expert in that. And then they were talking a little bit about nutrition and going and doing vitamin IVs, and I'm going, oh, what's this? This is natural. This is, more holistic. So I just dove into it, and by the time I graduated, all I wanted to do was more natural, herbal, osteopathy. I really didn't get into the,
Allopathic?
even though I was trained as an allopathic DO.
You were.
All of our schools are allopathic now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, and I've stayed that course the whole time because it helps people without hurting them. Above all, do no harm.
Is there, in your most private moments, and you're thinking about your career, and do you say to yourself, this is the one, is there one thing you say, man, the insight that you have now that you didn't have then? Is there something that illuminated you or you've learned that really has been a function of you evolving and getting to where you are?
I just wanted to help people with the difficulties they have in life, help ease them into life. I've delivered some babies, help them through life, and help ease the process out. I was always very compassionate, highly compassionate in my internship in the hospitals with people who seemed to be passing, the relatives who needed support, the loved ones. And then at the same time, I was aghast at some of the medical systems that could cause more harm than good.
Mm.
And also, the one thing I noticed was our medical system was not doing a good job on chronic disease.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't asking. So there was a guy who came in, and his cholesterol was 800.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, he was surrounded by 8 cardiologists and cardiological interns. So then I said to him, when everybody left, I said, by the way, what's your diet like? All the big guys were gone. I snuck in. I was an intern. He said, my diet? And I said, did anybody ask you? He said, no. I said, what have you been eating? He said, well, before I came here, I downed 2 bags of chocolate chip cookies and a bag of Oreos and a 12-pack of beer. Does that make a difference? I said, uh-huh. I said, you should really kind of change your diet.
Cholesterol of 800.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And his triglycerides were 500. Forget it.
Yeah.
So. I mean, that had, nobody was paying attention.
Nobody's paying attention. And we reach and try to, whatever ways we can help others, that's what we do. And Dr. Byrd is here as well. And I know that you're a fan of Dr. Ingram's. You always talk about him. But in your own journey, where you started and where you are now, is there something that happened along the way that where you are at this moment, you say, this is really what's important that you weren't thinking about many years ago? Is there some insight that you now have that you didn't have when you first started?
Yes.
Yeah. Why is her mic not working? It's on.
Okay, great. That's a great question, Doc. Yes, it's gotten more and more pronounced with people who need help, just everyday help, because as Doc Ingram said, they may not be getting it from the medical community. And my undergrad was in environmental science, business, and theater. Okay, I didn't expect to be a doctor helping people with their health. It was a lifestyle for me that has ballooned into a passion. And it keeps getting stronger because we live in a more polluted world now. And people...
Not only chemically, but in other ways.
In every way.
Yeah.
Emotionally, chemically, the food is polluted. And people are desperate. They don't know what to do anymore.
And some people are not even aware of the context in which they live. The existential circumstances of their life. And they move from day to day unaware. Well, we try to change that a little bit, and maybe we can shed just a little light today. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, wherever and however you may be listening or watching the show, and whatever you may be doing. Dr. Sally Byrd and Dr. Cass Ingram, they're in studio with us today. Yes, they do represent affiliated with different companies, but that doesn't make any difference. They are together in their effort and in their purpose to help others. And that's the real business.
It's pretty amazing we're sharing this space, though.
Yeah, I love it.
It's her space, and she said it's okay if I come in, and we're not. We're just the same.
Absolutely.
All of us here.
Absolutely. There's a story trending today about sugar. Turns out the frequent consumption of sugary drinks, sodas, sports drinks, energy drinks, there are more of them than I have sense. Products that pretend to be juices and they're really not, is linked to an increased risk of premature death from cardiovascular disease and to a lesser extent from cancer. Compared with, the study focused on women, compared with women who had sugary beverages less than once per month, those who had more than 2 servings a day, defined as a standard glass, or bottle, or can, had are you ready? A 63% increased risk of premature death. This is according to a study just published in the journal appropriately named Circulation. That journal is affiliated with the American Heart Association. Men who did the same had a 29% increase. So in terms of gender, the sugary drinks seem to have a greater, if you want to call it that, pathogenic effect on women than men. Those who consumed more than one, notice the numbers here. We're talking about more than one sugary beverage per month, but fewer than 2 per day, seemed to experience a dose effect. The more they drank, the greater the risk. In other words, it's not as if they were drinking. You see people walking out of these convenience stores with a beverage, and it looks like they're drinking it out of one of those cans that have a bucket, a paint bucket. It's giant. They're not doing that. These are, one drink, 2 drinks. It's nothing, but it has profound impact. We're just talking about one thing here: sugary drinks. Sugary drinks. Just imagine. Hard to believe. Do you have any response to that?
Didn't they measure the people who had a couple donuts too during and a 6-pack of cookies and There
have been previous studies that have shown a strong correlation and consistent link between consumption of sweetened beverages and weight gain, type 2 diabetes, and other cardiometabolic conditions, heart disease, stroke. Dr. Vasanti Malik was the head researcher on the study, adjunct lecturer in the Department of Nutrition in the Harvard T.H. Chang School of Public Health. The next step, Dr. Malik explains, was to examine how sugary beverages relate to the risk of premature death.
You want me to explain the mechanism?
Sure.
So what happens is when you consume refined sugar, it is extremely poisonous to the adrenal glands, and the cortisol starts getting pumped out like crazy to try to compensate, and the glucocorticoids to manage the blood sugar level. It's very tough on the insulin. It drives the insulin hard. You become insulin resistant. You develop syndrome X. Your homocysteine jacks up. Your B vitamins are depleted. The homocysteine jacks up more because you need the folic acid and the B12, B6 to modulate the homocysteine. You develop this toxic syndrome X from the sugar. You pack on the peritoneal fat. And,
right, the visceral adipose tissue.
Bang. And then sugar damages the heart muscle directly. The heart hates sugar. It thrives on saturates and monounsaturates. We all know this. 80% of 90% of the fuel for the heart comes from monos and saturated fats. It's and it's poisonous. What else can I say? I know Yudkin proved this years ago in his book. He showed that Well, there you go.
So, when you think about what people are doing on a day-to-day basis, nutritionally speaking, food has consequences, and food is not just food. So, listening to Dr. Ingram, we're just talking about the consumption of added sugars. Sugary beverages is one way by which we get in touch with all the sugar. Never mind the cookies, the crackers, the cakes, and that whole long list of products. And at the end of the day, and when you think of over the span of a person's lifetime, how much is consumed, and if you listen to what Dr. Ingram said about mechanism of action, your adrenal glands get very fatigued, adrenal fatigue, and the consequences and the stress. You have the HPA axis that's involved, hypothalamic adrenal pituitary axis. All those get implicated, and it's not just the food, it's the stress as well, right, Dr.?
Well, it is. I was going to ask Ms. Byrd about her view, but I'll tell you what, it also feeds the fungus. The fungus glues up the blood, and the fungus damages the thyroid, and they get the heart attack. You got most of these cases are loaded with fungus before they have the heart attack.
Agreed, because I see it all the time.
Where does the fungus come from?
She'll tell you.
It's all, what happens is the body is actually trying to save itself, and the increased carbohydrates from the sugar creates this mucousy film or biofilms. It's really in the gut starting, and due to stress, when the adrenals can't support the body, the thyroid goes, because that axis works together. So anybody with low adrenal usually has a hypothyroid issue.
Don't be
Back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Thanks for stopping by today. You picked a good day to listen or watch the show. Dr. Cass Ingram is in studio along with Dr. Sally Byrd. Birds of a feather migrate together.
Hello. What are you going to do with him now?
It's great to have them here. I was just reporting on using it as a way to inspire some conversation. This new study, it's this whole line of research about sugary drinks and these obesogenic foods that populate the food culture, not only in our country but throughout the world. The researchers in this study used data from 37,716 American men in the health professionals follow-up study, which started back in 1986. And then they had 80,000 plus American women in the nurses' health study. So that was the data set or the sample from which they drew the data. That nurses' health study started in 1976. So these data are fulsome, right? They really are. And the results are a snapshot of the halfway point of the studies in 1994. The main cause of premature death in this new study was cardiovascular disease, followed by cancer, primarily of the colon and breast. Overall, the consumption of sugary beverages was found to increase the risk. We're talking about just one thing here, increase the risk of premature death from cardiovascular disease by, you have a greater than 3 in 10 chance, 31% from cancer, and by 18% when the group who drank more than 2 per day was compared with those who had fewer than 1 per month.
I published on that.
You did.
The book, How to Eat Right and Live Longer, also nutrition tests for better health, and natural cures for high blood pressure and natural cures for diabetes. And the sugar industry was very, very highly disturbed with my stuff.
You're upset.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
So to make that nexus, to connect, I'm just talking about one thing. I'm talking about sugary drinks.
Yep.
To make the nexus between the consumption of sugary drinks and cardiovascular related diseases, for example, and cancer, heart disease, high blood pressure, angina, whatever, and then never mind the different forms of cancer. People sometimes say you got to be making that up. After all, it's only a beverage.
Well, Yudkin, Professor Emeritus, King's College, his book, Sweet and Dangerous, I think that was the title back in the 60s, categorically showed, he said that if the same basis for the banning of saccharin and cyclamates were used for sugar, it would be prohibited from use by the human race.
Unbelievable.
Because the fatalities are far greater.
The title of the book is what? Sweet and Dangerous?
I think it was Sweet and Dangerous. Right. Professor John Yudkin, was that the title? And furthermore, he charted it. He showed that saturated fat did not cause an increase in fatality. Only increased consumption of refined sugar, as you get to 140, 150, 200 pounds per year per person, the coronary artery disease, fatal myocardial infarction, stroke, and congestive heart failure climbed in equilibrated fashion with the sugar consumption. Come on, I mean, refined sugar, it's a deadly poison. There's nothing in it but pure carbohydrate, sugar carbohydrate. The body can't handle it.
And that's why the triglycerides are off the charts. It's not the cholesterol, it's the sugar forcing up the triglycerides.
Sweet and Dangerous, that sounds like some of my relationships. That's...
What, are you really that tied to the abdomen to cane sugars? Oh, I see. Something
Sweet
else.
and Dangerous, yeah. Boy, that was pathogenic for me, I can tell you that. So listen, check this out. Same study. They substituted one sugary beverage per day with an artificially sweetened one. Now just wait. And they found that it lowered the risk of premature death. But drinking 4 or more artificially sweetened beverages increased the risk of premature death from cardiovascular disease in women.
Oh,
So,
geez.
you know, you change the tire with another bad tire. The same effect was not seen for men. It was not seen the risk of dying of cancer. So, you know, I don't know. I think, in my opinion, Dr. Cass and Dr. Byrd, I think that artificial sweeteners are even more lethal and pathogenic than the sugary beverages, than the sugar in the beverages, in my opinion.
Well, you're not going to get any argument on this side of the shelf.
No, you're not. And I think they contribute to fatty liver disease and everything else. It starts shutting the body down.
Pancreatitis.
Pancreatitis.
Pancreatic cancer.
So let's go back to, because you always mention fungus and all these pathogenic microorganisms. In your, explain to the listener and the viewer, people say, okay, this fungus, did I eat something? Did I catch something? Did something get inside my body? Did it come out of the ether? Where did the fungus come from?
Can you make bread without sugar? If you just put the yeast and the flour together, what's going to happen? The yeast going to grow?
No.
Add a little honey or sugar. Yeah, flatbread. Flatbread, absolutely. Salt, flour, and you could put the yeast in because it'd give you some nutrients, but no sugar, no rise, right? So now you don't have to add much sugar, and the thing blows up like a balloon. So what do you think that happened to all the people out there? You know, oh, I'm bloated. Oh, I eat, and I just my stomach. And look at my stomach.
What does the sugar have to do with the fungus?
It feeds it. Come on.
But where did the fungus come from is my question.
You know.
That's what she said. Already inside. Candida, 3% of your microbiome is fungal. 3 to 5%. Well, then somebody's taking antibiotics all the time, or they're eating chicken. Full of antibiotics, whatever. My point is, if they're taking the antibiotics or getting it, that's killing the good guys. And guess what grows? The Candida.
So Candida is what?
Well, that's Candida albicans. It's a potentially pathogenic yeast. It's a yeast. It's the same like leavening bread type thing. Now, that type of yeast is a little different. But yeah, it's a yeast, right?
Mm-hmm. So
pathogenic that overgrows.
People don't realize that this world inside of them is not just constituted of organs and tissue of different types and organ systems. You have living organisms inside your body, and some of which are your friend, and some of which are your enemy.
Yeah, the bad guys and the good guys.
The bad guys and the good guys. And you can make the difference in their struggle by feeding one more than the other. And these organisms need to be fed, and they need a place to live. And so they're constantly warring over that and finding food. Ingram is in studio with us today, and Dr. Sally Byrd. As I said, birds of a feather tend to migrate together, and they migrated here, and they're on the road. They've been giving lectures. Dr. Byrd, the last time, she's only been home one day since the last time she was on the show. I believe that she has Bedouin a genetic heritage somewhere in her, and she is a Bedouin, doesn't know it, and is.
She doesn't look like a Bedouin, though.
I know she doesn't, but she behaves like one. So it's great to be with you and to have them here. And you're invited to call, and you can speak with Dr. Byrd and Dr. Ingram. They're very amenable, easy to talk to, and this is a safe place. You hear me say that. This space is a space where politics doesn't enter, religion, all these issues that seem to divide people. And I don't know why I don't get that, but it's so this is safe, and you can call and not to worry. Go ahead, Gary, tell them how to do it.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK. Don't forget, follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Nutrition. Share us and like us with your friends. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Let's Talk Nutrition, where we have over there 62,000 views, Doc.
It's great.
Got over 400 followers on there, and we have 1,100 videos.
Hey. So should I announce these?
Go ahead.
Yes.
Please.
So on March 18th, is that today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm supposed to be at the Nutrition Smart at Chapel, Florida, or something like
Wesley
that.
Chapel?
Wesley, that's
Chapel.
I live up in that. I live up in that neck of the woods.
Are you coming by to stop by and say hi? Why don't you?
That's in New Tampa area.
6 p.m. today, Bruce D. Downs Boulevard.
Bruce B. Downs.
Okay, 6 p.m. I don't know.
At Nutrition Smart. I know exactly where that is.
Okay, nice folks over there. Tuesday, March 19th at 6 p.m. at Nature Storehouse. They had to rent a big church or something because they had an overflow there. You better give them a call, Nature Storehouse. And then Nutrition Smart. No, that's not important. Abby's at 6 p.m. on Thursday.
North Del Mabry.
Big Bad Abby's, yeah.
She just passed away not long ago.
Oh, and we lost a real pioneer there. And then Chuck's, Big Bad Chuck's.
That's up in Temple Terrace?
Brandon, Florida.
He moved to Brandon.
Big
Okay.
Bad Chuck at 6 p.m. That's the 22nd. Ada's Natural Market. Oh, the good folks
Ada.
down at Ada's.
Yes.
March 23rd. Looks like, I don't know, it's probably the same time. And then Toonies. I go over on Saturday.
That's on the other coast.
Yeah, something like
That's over in Miami
You
area.
got a way to put that up for your listeners?
I will. I'm getting ready to. Actually, I'm contacting our buddy Jasmine, and
All right.
she's going to send me the schedule for you.
So Dr. Ingram will be giving lectures in those stores in those areas. He'll be giving a couple up in where I live. I live about an hour from here as the crow flies.
Then Daytime NBC has asked me to come down and do a gig on golden milk and turmeric.
Oh, good.
So that
you brought some golden milk with you today.
22nd.
What is that? What is that golden milk? You mixed it up.
Yeah, that one is the triple spice. See, that's got the Ceylon cinnamon with the ginger, wild ginger, with the turmeric, organic, and that you put on food and make your golden milk. So you don't have to do anything. You just take that, your milk, your butter, whatever.
So I see that you stay alive with your own supply.
Yeah.
He's the reverse of Tony Montana.
I know.
I made some for you.
I see that. You actually consume your own products here, buddy.
Come on, what are you talking about?
I endorse them.
Hey, we know people that don't consume their own products.
Oh.
We've seen them.
Okay.
We have seen them.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Or they do, and they look like it.
It's amazing what you see in the press room.
So we were talking about fungi and a particular fungus that could be living inside of your body. And then the antibiotics came up. And so there's a story trending in the New York Times. It's called The New Old Age. Older Americans are awash in antibiotics. They are, and I want to give attribution to Paula Spann, who wrote the article. And she says that the drugs are not just overprescribed. She said that often they pose special risks for older patients, including tendon problems, nerve damage, and mental health issues. Really? We're just talking about antibiotics, you think. Well, antibiotics have a lot of consequences, although they can save your life. but they can also create problems. So we find now that older people, given aging and disease, and they're being overprescribed antibiotics. What do we do about? I don't know what we do about that, but what could they do about it so that they can recover from the treatment?
Well, what about a bit of oil of wild oregano or something like that?
All right, go ahead and talk about that.
You got silver here, you got oregano over here. Okay, so there are natural antibiotics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, and they don't cause drug resistance, and they do not cause toxic side effects. Plus, you have diseases where you don't need antibiotics. You got two hits. So you have a cold, you have a sinusitis, you have a bronchitis, you have a chest congestion, you have a rhinitis, you have an irritable bowel, you have a little diarrhea. You have a food poisoning. They all are contraindicated for antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
So medically, you're not supposed to give antibiotics. So why not use something else?
So you have silver that can help with the immune system, right?
That's right. And if you combine the silver biotics with the North American spice wild oregano, nothing is going to survive. I mean, there's too much research out there if someone really wants to do their digging, but both will work like an antimicrobial, antifungal, and it'll kill the yeast problem that we've been discussing today, which is caused by antibiotics.
Check this out. We're headed into message. Check this out. Patients over 65 years of age have the highest rate of outpatient prescribing of any age group getting antibiotics. A new CDC study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society pointed out that doctors write enough antibiotic prescriptions every year, which is nearly 52 million, for every older person to get at least one.
Yeah.
Think about that.
I got more on that when we come back.
All right. We're headed into the top of the hour. You'll have your weather, news, and whatever they do in your neck of the broadcast woods. We'll be back with Dr. Ingram and Dr. Sally Byrd. It's really a lot of fun to have them here in person. It's wonderful. Nothing like face-to-face dyadic communication, interpersonal, connected. And when we ask you to connect, when we come back, we'll tell you how to connect with the show. And you are listening and watching Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally, where the effort is to educate so we can empower people to do what? Take charge of their health and live a long life with quality of life. And it takes effort. It also takes insight, but it takes a commitment. We'll be back. Welcome to the show. Great to be with you. Thanks for tuning in, starting your week off with us. We feel privileged that you do. We have a lot of faults, but taking you for granted is not one of them. Trust me. I remember those many years ago when we started the show, and I actually remember the day driving into studio. And I had never been on radio before, and they had asked me to host the show along with another individual who was gone after 3 months. So I was driving in, and I said, what in the name of whomever am I going to do? And I kept thinking about it, and I said, there are human beings out there, and you have to connect. And I thought, tell the truth as you know it. Be sincere. Be passionate. And let the audience know that you care about them. And instinctively, I just went there. I'm just telling you how it happened. Tell the truth as I know it. Be sincere. Be passionate about what you're doing. And let the audience member know you care about them. And I said, they'll forgive you for any mistakes you make, so don't worry. You know what? That turned out to be true. It turned out to be true. And I can literally remember walking into this very room, and that was what was in my head. And now here we fast forward 14 years later, and it turns out that Dr. Ingram was one of the first guests on Let's Talk Nutrition 14 years ago. And I was struck by the qualities that I just mentioned. I knew he was passionate. I could tell. I knew he was sincere. He was authentic. I could tell also. And I knew he cared about the audience. And I thought, there you go. And I saw those same qualities in Dr. Byrd. When she came, I didn't know Sally from Adam's rib, or Eve's for that matter. But it turned out that she had the same qualities. She was sincere. She told the truth as she knew it. And she let the audience, and she cared about people. You can have all those letters behind your name that signify your achievement, PhD, MD, ND, XYZ, CM, whatever. At the end of the day, if you don't have all those qualities I just talked about, you're not going to be able to make it in this business, or you're not going to make for a good physician either.
No.
You're not.
They call that core values.
Mm-hmm.
What's within you.
Mm-hmm.
And you could remember back in the day we used to talk, and we just talked.
Yes.
We didn't always just try to pitch a product and so on. And I was just thinking about those core values. You could get fooled. Somebody could have, like you say, super credentials. They could give a big speech, and then you go up and you try, hey, how you doing, Dr. Smith? I just want to, who are you? So right. There's a disconnect between what you see and what's real.
Cass, I had somebody who's famous, and I tell you, very famous, and I was attending a lecture that this person gave. The room was filled, okay? And I was sitting there, and this person, I know this person very, very well, and gave the presentation. It was over. People politely applauded. And then this individual came up to me, and he said, he said, I give these talks, and I noticed that nobody comes to speak with me after. And he said, I know you have your PhD in communication, and, I recognize that you could probably have some thoughts about this. He said, what do you think? I said, well, I'll tell you the truth as I know it. Technically, you're perfect. No one could present the information technically better than you. You know all there is to know. You don't miss a bend or a turn. I said, but you don't connect. the audience doesn't get the message that you care about them. It's not just the dispensing of information here. You need to persuade them. You need to persuade them not only about what you're talking about, but you have to persuade them about you. They have to like you. If they like you, then they'll believe you. If they believe you, then you can persuade them. If they tend probably not to like you because they don't feel that they can connect with you. So it is about values. And, it's a shame, Dr. Byrd, that many of these colleagues of ours get all of this training. And it's like having precious paintings locked up in the attic. It's worthless. They're worthless.
Who's looking at them, right?
Who's looking at them? You're not sharing it. And so all these experts have all of this, they have vaults of information in their head, but they don't connect with their heart. And you have to connect with the audience, with the person you're talking to, whether it's your patient one-on-one or whether it's an audience of 100. I gave a speech not long ago. They told me somewhere between 400 to 500 people in the room. I was shocked. And I gave my presentation, and I did it in a way that was, I did it intentionally, non-technical, and I was just trying to convey to them that they could age successfully, and I was trying to show them a way to do that. It resonated, and people came up and they talked to me, not because I'm a great rhetorician necessarily, but because they understood that I was telling the truth as I knew it. I cared about them, I was sincere, and I was passionate. And I knew my stuff, but all those other elements, Cass, as you say, the values have to be a prerequisite.
Yeah, they do.
They're necessary conditions. So that's why I'm both of you, this is my way of saying to you that I appreciate all that you do, and you've done, both of you together, you have over 100 years of experience out there.
Well, it's interesting that when someone has heart trouble, one of my dearest friends who's a master's of nutrition says, "What hurts your heart?"
Yes.
We really do need to work on the heart.
Yes.
That's the center of life,
Mhm.
not the brain. And if we can learn one thing today, maybe
The Greeks believed that too, you know.
Oh, well, they had. Well, they also called it oroganos, the light of the mountains, or
Oregano.
they had that figured out. Hey, you talk about the Greeks. It's not just Greek. They used to take the oregano and stuff it like mad into their amphoras of olive oil, just jam it in, and then they would, you know how they look so beautiful? They would take that oregano olive oil mix. I guess that's
I
oregano.
never thought of that. I never thought
And
of
they
it.
scrubbed it all over their bodies. They documented this by archaeological discovery. They found a ship, a galleon in the ocean, 2,000 feet, whatever, down, and it had 2,500 amphora, and every one of them had olive oil oregano mix. And that's what they use for their soap and for their beauty and their skin.
Did they put the oregano in the oil so that it wouldn't oxidize?
Well, they put the oregano in the oil so the olive oil would suck. They didn't have a distillation apparatus, so it would suck that medicine out of the oregano, and then they used it as their drug.
Externally?
Yes, how many times have I been preaching?
Did they ever
Scrub the oregano.
Did they ever consume it
Well, they consumed it, but mostly
orally, or did they
not
just?
too much. They didn't.
So they used it for topical.
They got it in through their
application.
lymphatics. They didn't know what they were doing, but they kind of knew.
That's amazing.
You know what's cool about the oregano? It calms the brain down and helps with inflammation. So it's helping the skin calm down. Sicknesses, disease, anything red, it was protecting them.
Yeah, and then to protect so they wouldn't get anything too. And then it's going to go into that lymph, and from the lymph to the lymph nodes.
I don't talk enough about the lymphatic system on the show, and I need to do that. Some of the cancers, many of the cancers connected to lymphatic dysfunction. We'll be back with Dr. Byrd and Dr. Ingram, coast to coast and globally on Let's Talk Nutrition. Dr. Cass Ingram, Dr. Sally Byrd are in studio with me, and I had received an email. I can't reveal the name of the person, so let me read some of the email and have you respond. Could you please offer insight on teeters and how or why they decline? Pneumococcal teeters are low and suggested Pneumovax immune challenge. However, I have read that it can make things worse.
Oh.
Understood that you can't diagnose, but blah, blah, blah. I have lichen sclerosis has been in flare more than quiet. So
lichen sclerosis.
Hold on. So, some say autoimmune. Others say they don't know. Not a fan of steroid cream. I'm curious about the possibility of some type of vitamin mineral deficiency. Might you be able to direct me to the best published resources on research on this topic? I'm not making this up.
All right.
Taking Dr. Cass oregano juice, full strength, twice a day. I swear to you. I got the email right here. I swear to you.
Oh, gee.
Also, there is a safer material rather than the plant. So what do I get here? She's talking about teeters, how and why they decline.
Yeah.
She's talking about pneumococcal teeters. Right. They're low, but and suggested pneumovax immune. And then she talks about lichen sclerosis. Can you make sense of what she's looking for?
First of all, titers.
Titers, I call them teeters.
Why would you want them to be high? You don't want high titers. That means high titers of Epstein-Barr means you have Epstein-Barr. High titers of herpes means you have herpes. So who cares? The main thing is that she's...
How do they decline? How do you get them to decline?
Well, if the body is obliterating the miserable pneumococcus, then it's going to go down.
What are titers? What are
titers? Would be the titers of immunological reactive proteins. The high titers means that there's an active infection. Low titers is what you want. You don't want them high.
Well, she's asking. She's probably wanting to know how to get them.
You
low.
want to get the...
what are pneumococcal titers?
You're measuring the immune system. See? That's what you're doing.
She says pneumococcal titers are low.
Right.
What is pneumovax immune challenge?
It would be to inject protein from the pneumococcus to try to challenge the immune response or immunoglobulins. Look, I just don't go for it. She's got a fungus. Lichen sclerosis is fungal. Mm-hmm. She's got the fungus, that's suppressing the immune system. Maybe that's suppressing the titers. She's got to clean the fungus out.
So what would you say to her?
I would say I'm not going to make the diagnosis. She's already had that. So I would say...
No, she hasn't.
Oh, she hasn't. Okay, so I would say, why don't you just clean your body out? Oil of oregano, super strength.
She's doing it.
She's doing the juice.
She's doing the juice.
Juice and oil. Maybe 20 drops 3 times a day.
Under the tongue?
And for the fatty acids, I would go for the fatty salmon oil. I would go for the Polar Power to get the vitamin A and D because the lichen sclerosis is associated with fat-soluble vitamin deficiency.
What's the name of the product?
Polar Power.
Polar Power?
I would, I'm not going to make a drug claim, but I would take, as a nutritionist, 4 capsules twice a day, oregano 2 or 3 times a day, the oil, and keep pounding the juice, and then go back to your doctor and check. But I don't think she needs the injection of the pneumococcal protein.
Suggest pneumovax immune challenge.
I wouldn't. I'm not going to do it.
What do they do? It's a challenge. They inject you. Go ahead.
As I understand it, you're injecting the proteins material,
and then you want to see how the body
see that titers
go up.
Immunoglobulins go up. That's not necessarily a good thing. You're just forcing the immune system to overdrive, and the lymphatics are going crazy, and the lymph nodes are going out of their minds.
She said, "I have read it can make things worse." She just says
that's what's going to happen.
So she agrees with you.
Yeah, I don't do it. What for?
Also, if she adds 3 tablespoons of silver into the oregano juice, it's going to work more effectively. The frequency of this silver will drive it in deeper, and it'll work faster.
She said, I put myself on DHEA 5 milligrams for 30 days. I heard low DHEA has effect on immunity.
She's right about the low DHEA, but she might as well get it naturally. So if she's going to do silver, she's going to do oregano, she's got something to kill. Why not take something like ashwagandha or royal jelly?
Love royal jelly.
You have
She'll
that.
get her
You
B
have that
vitamins.
in North America.
He does.
What is it?
Royal Power.
Royal Power.
Royal Power, and then the whole adrenal gland would be helped, not just one hormone out of 65. We got the wrong approach, right? Somebody's DHEA is low because their thyroid went out of whack and their adrenals are completely exhausted. So you take one little isolated bioidentical hormone when you really should be pumping the royal jelly, the ashwagandha, you should be eating more salt. If she wants to raise her DHEA, how about if she took two or three teaspoons of sea salt and water or on her food, her DHEA is going to come up.
Yeah. So, where did I want to go with
the
this?
Royal Power, I also support that, Doc, because she needs B vitamins.
B vitamins.
And royal jelly naturally has B. It also has natural vitamin D3 in it. It's a powerhouse. It has minerals. And if she does that with the raw salt, as Doc recommends, it's power. It'll stabilize the body and promote alkalinity because right now she's acid.
Royal jelly has 65 steroids.
It's amazing.
So is it, while trying to kill the fungus, you also want to, which will help the immune system because there'll be less stress on it, has to work less hard.
Build up the adrenals.
You have to build her up.
But she needs to support her immune system, right?
No, oregano supports the immune system and
Build
kills.
the adrenals.
Yeah,
Okay.
the adrenals will be for the ashwagandha and the royal jelly. Yeah.
All right. So I've been wanting to.
Everybody makes it too complicated.
I know.
I've been wanting to answer her, and I waited till you were here.
All right.
And we got it done. I'll let her know. We can have this whole segment.
Where is she anyway?
She's here in Florida.
Oh, all right.
All right. Knowledge is power, she said to me in this. That's great.
Right.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Dr. Cass, Ingram, Dr. Sally Byrd are in studio today. Pete and Repeat are here. They
I don't see them.
they really are. Y'all ought to go do a tour together. I mean, you make a good team.
Yeah.
And you have products that are complementary with one another.
Yeah, that's true.
The Silver Biotics and all the North American Urban Spice products, the oil of oregano, and all these different.
You should see her chart where that wound was healed so dramatically by the Silver Biotic.
I saw it.
Saw
that.
That's
Do
dramatic.
you know Dr. Keith Muller? Do you happen to know?
I know of him, yeah.
Keith is a good guy.
Yeah, sure he is. So it's still a mom and pop company, just like the North American Urban Spice.
Yeah.
I think people should support local niche companies. There's not many of us left.
Not many. I know the show is about educating. You heard Dr. Ingram and Dr. Byrd respond to a audience member's email to me asking about titers. How do you say it?
Titers.
It's titers. A titer, just so you know, is a measurement of the amount of or concentration of a particular substance in a solution. It usually refers to the amount of antibodies.
Exactly, immunoglobulin.
In a person's blood. Blood titer measurements can help determine medical treatment, they say. Antibody titers show if a person is immune to diseases such as measles, chickenpox, or hepatitis, for example. It can also help, they say, measure harmful antibodies related to lupus. Now, that being said, some say it's called a titers challenge. What do they inject into you?
Protein, pneumococcal protein.
Pneumococcal proteins, and then they want to see how your body responds. They can measure whether or not you have.
What it is, I'll tell you how it is. It's a false premise. The premise is, okay, if we inject this protein, then somehow we'll force the immune system to recognize your pneumococci. Yeah, and then, but the problem is that we know for sure that when you do that, you use up all your immunoglobulins. The immunoglobulins go and attack the toxic pneumococcal injection, and it's like, well, there's none left to attack the germ.
It's like sort of setting the house on fire on purpose.
Yes, it is. And then just see what happens. A conflagration.
It's going to burn down, you dummy.
Yeah. Whoopee. So, I mean, that's why I said, we know she has a fungus. Why not just get rid of the fungus and see what happens?
877-897-8255 will put you in touch with Dr. Oregano.
What? I am Dr. Silver and Dr.
Dr. Silver and Dr. Oregano. Oh, my God. You can't make it up. This is so much fun. You can call. You can ask a question. No worries. It's a safe spot. I just wanted to share something. You often hear me. I'm one of the most optimistic persons you will find on the planet. Been that way my whole life, learned that from my mother. But on the other hand, I also am a realist, and you often hear me say that, life is filled with a lot of ambiguity, uncertainty, control is an illusion. I don't believe in control. We don't control anything. We can influence people, we can influence processes, we can exercise our influence, we can manage things. Control, not so much. And fate works in ways that we sometimes don't understand. Meaning that, we walk around in this illusion of control and health, but you never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it can happen to anybody at any time for any reason in any place, no matter your age. I learned over the weekend that somebody that I know, their child was diagnosed with leukemia. 5 years old, beautiful child, know the child, and out of the blue, out of nowhere, seemingly out of nowhere. And these are the challenges that we all face. And the question, then you should say, well, if all that you just said is true, then I should just take a fatalistic attitude, walk around and step out into traffic and, and get run over. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying to you is that you can exercise a lot of influence over the things that happen to you with respect to your health. And you should do and practice those principles that Dr. Byrd and Dr. Ingram are talking about today, that we talk about on the show every day, notwithstanding the fact that fate can be unkind, it can bring misfortune, it can even bring good fortune. And so it's humbling to think of it that way, to know that, you are vulnerable.
Can I take a slightly different point of view?
Please.
So, according to Bush in his book Common Sense Health, now not that Bush, okay? This was 1930.
Okay.
Which he's
Bush
an osteopath.
Okay.
And also, according to W.D. Clark in Indiana, we did not have any leukemia to deal with or any lymphoma until all of these inoculations.
Mm-hmm.
And so how much of it is automatic destiny heredity, and how much of it is with the corruptions that we have allowed? Nobody will speak about it. Oh, you can't talk about it. It's a sacred cow. Well, I'm going to talk about it. According to cancer research, for the sake of that family, for the sake of principle, for the sake of what's in my heart, cancer research, 90% of leukemia is induced by vaccination. According to M.D. Anderson, who followed my work on national radio, when they went back to their slides, I told them 60% of all lymphoma is induced by the sugar cube polio with the SV40 contaminant virus, which is carcinogenic, SV40. They went back and confirmed on the oncogene of the lymphoma cases slides, histological slides, exactly the virus from the monkey kidneys, the tumor-inducing virus was on the oncogene, turning it off, turning it on to cancer. How much are we doing to ourselves? Well, our Creator gave us everything, according to A.T. Still, the founder of osteopathy. I'll quote him, everything's in the body to keep it going, keep it healthy. What are we doing to it? That's what we have to look for.
Do you think these vaccines are inducing these
cancer research says so, and I think they're right.
But some of it is accounted for by genetics too, right?
Not the genetics makes you vulnerable. What we do to ourselves is what causes
to make them express.
Oh yes, yeah.
877-897-8255, 877-897-TALK. Dr. Sally Byrd, you see them on the screen, and Dr. Cass Ingram. And you are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally, to educate and empower so that we can take charge of our health, live a long life with quality of life. TN Health question of the day. Earlier in the show, I was talking about this new study, and they looked at a particular food. I'm using that term loosely, generally. That includes solid foods, beverages, whatever. And they found that consuming this particular food increased the likelihood for premature death caused by cardiovascular disease and cancer. What was it that I was talking about? Was it A, sugary drinks, B, cookies, crackers, cakes, chips, or C, pizza? Which one of those in the study increased the risk for premature death caused by cardiovascular disease and cancer? Was it A, sugary drinks, B, as my list goes, the cookies, crackers, cakes, chips, and crisps, or C, pizza? Here's the number to call, and if you win, you'll get the right answer, you'll win a $25 supplement gift card, and I would ask you not to go out and buy that stuff.
877-897-8255. That's 877-897-TALK.
Oh.
So thank you for answering our audience member's question. You did it in a fulsome way. I know she will appreciate sharing. I waited and waited to answer. I thought she's going to become upset with me, and I said, I know Doc is going to become, you and Dr. Byrd would be coming by, and I said, I'll just see if I can wait and hold out, and sure enough. And she obviously referenced you in the, Dr. Ingram, she referenced you in her email.
Well, I tell you this, that these infections, these chronic infections, I know the immune system gets shot down, the endocrine system goes into a problem, and we know there are underlying factors. Certainly, antibiotic use is an issue, but chronic infection is a major cause of illness in children, in teenagers, and adults. So you have something like lichen sclerosus or lichen planus, you have lupus, you have scleroderma, you have autoimmune thyroid, you have thyroiditis, you have Hashimoto's, and you have irritable bowel, spastic colon, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, esophagitis, H. pylori gastritis. They're all infectious. I mean, I know there are other factors that led to it, genetics and weakness of the immunological, whatever. But you have to clean out the infection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have two tools here. You've heard about silver biotics. You've heard about the oregano. You've heard about the juice. They are tools. And think about the lack of toxicity. When's the last time anybody died from having a high-quality nutraceutical supplement? You don't hear about it very often. I'm not saying that there's no toxicity of anything, but let me compare this. I mentioned I was going to say. So every year, 300,000 people die in the United States in hospitals from the overuse of antibiotics, from secondary infections induced by the antibiotics used in the hospital. That's over 250,000 people, so it's not very comparable to, say, these types of things.
I know. It's just, you have to, people make choices, have consequences too, and you have to make choices about how you want to practice prevention, and how you want to practice preparation, and how you want to practice battling a particular affliction when it happens. Either you can have an accident, or you can have some disease process that takes hold. And you got to make informed choices. And you just don't go on the internet and find some, far out, unsupported, undocumented, unresearched, and it just sounds good. Ask and challenge. Say, show me the data. Where are the data? What evidence do you have, either anecdotally, from traditional use in cultures over hundreds and thousands of years, or clinical trials of one sort or another, even observational studies, or laboratory research with animals, or even in a petri, something.
Yeah, and we're not violating what they say. There's no antibiotic for cold, flu, sinusitis, bronchitis, many topical afflictions like the lichen planus, lichen sclerosis, like even ringworm, and there's not a lot. So the dermatologist, the physician, is just pulling out his hair, saying, "Well, we don't have a lot of medications for this." What a perfect situation! Or even Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, irritable bowel, lupus, and what a perfect situation for people to take natural remedies along with their medical care.
How many books have you written now?
28.
28.
Yeah.
What's your most recent one?
The Hemp Oil Miracle is coming, and then the latest one, Natural Cures from Wild Tree Resins, which will be done in 2 days. So that's available now. That's the spruce and pine and all that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ms. Byrd, you have been using these natural antiseptics for 20 years. You ever get sick?
No. And I travel at least 3 weeks a month.
At least. She's
I'm
home.
a vagabond.
She's
Helping people
if she's
is
not,
my passion.
if she's not in the car, she's on a boat somewhere, and she's not on a boat, she's on a plane.
But she's in front of all kind of sick people.
And the only thing is, I haven't heard her say, I traveled to such and such a place on a train, but she's in boats, planes, and cars all the time.
Tell us what you take.
I take silver biotics every day and wild oregano as my base.
You use the oil of oregano and the Oregaresp, you said?
And the Oregaresp. It's one of my favorite products.
Let's go to Tampa, Florida. David lives there in Wesley Chapel. David, what was it that I was talking about that increased the people's chances of premature death due to heart disease and cancer? Was it sugary drinks, cookies, crackers, chips, and crisps, or was it pizza? Which one of those?
Sugary drinks.
Yeah. Yay. There you go, man. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great. I have a quick question for your guest, please.
Go ahead.
Dr. Ingram and Dr. Byrd, for a patient with subclinical hypothyroidism, where the TSH is too high, yet the free T3, free T4, and antibodies are normal, what would you recommend? How would you treat that, either separately or together?
I would go a high-protein paleo diet. I would eat a lot of grass-fed meat, and I would take the oregano oil super strength, rub it all over the thyroid twice a day, saturate that at night, take the juice of oregano internally. There's a product called Thyroset, which is a natural kelp from the Atlantic Ocean. Pacific is a problem now. That would be a good start, and then maybe look into the body-shaped diet. Take the test, follow my advice. And the seminars, I'm doing Nutrition Smart here this evening, and then Nature Storehouse tomorrow, etc.
Okay. I hope that answered it for you, David. Let's talk nutrition. Thank you, guys.
Everyone's raving about the newest botanical super